Hi, everybody. Um, so I want to talk to you. I put up some pictures yesterday, and I didn't do any contrast on my chest, but I just wanted to show you kind of, it's not only happening in my eyes, and my face, and my nose, and my cheeks, and my neck. It's all the way down my chest. Um, all these images. So it's pretty fascinating, right? But I want to tell you about, I think it was Saturday. Um, yeah, I think it was Saturday. Um, Saturday morning, because I woke up early that morning, like about 5, I think, and I was up until like 9. And then I'm like, let me lay down take a little nap before I get up. I'll just get up at noon. And so I set the alarm for an hour and a half or an hour and 15 minutes, something like that. And I go in and I take a nap. And I went into this dream like state. Um, Very bizarre. Um, okay, it's kind of like in bits and pieces. So it's, I'm walking in to this counter, and I don't remember what I was asking this lady, but she asked me for my ID. And so I give her my ID, and she goes to this swing double doors, and she comes back out and she goes, I think she said, your check's not ready yet. You have to come back. I said, okay. And I start heading out the door, and I get out the door, and I'm like, oh, she didn't give back my ID. And I remember opening up this wallet, but it's a smaller, like, wallet that opened up, and an older wallet, like it was used. Uh, it was kind of like a black wallet. And I mean used because it's like the flap that pulls over looked kind of used, worn out. And I'm looking for my ID, and there's that spot for in your wallet. You can put your ID in. You can see it's got that clear foam over it. Well, it wasn't there, so I go back in and I go to the counter and I'm waiting, I'm waiting, I'm waiting, and finally this guy comes out, and I go, "Excuse me, I need to get my driver's license." I said, um, or my ID is what I said. I need to get my ID, which was my driver's license. That lady had taken it back there to see if my papers were ready or if my check was ready or something like that. I think it's check. I don't know why it was a check. Um, if my check was ready, and he goes, "Well, who was she?" I go, "Oh, well, I didn't get her name. I had to get her name." And he goes, "Well, let me go ask." And so he goes back to the double doors, and it's like been a while. It seemed like it was a long time. So I was just like, I'll just go myself. So I walked to the double doors. And as I'm walking to the double doors, it's kind of like I walked into like a hospital scene. And off to my left was a hospital bed. There was a patient in it, and she had like a blue robe. And well, I couldn't tell at first if it was a he or she. I just seen somebody laying there, and there was three people kind of like bending over the bed to talk to her, and then two other people on the other side. Well, I just walked straight. It was like I seen it out of my corner of vision. And I go up to this desk. Well, you know how a nursing station, well, not the ones they have now, but in the old days, they had that counter. You'll see them in the old sitcom movies or whatever. They have that counter where you can see the nurses on this side and the doctors or whatever. They're communicating, not like today's world where they have that big, pretty much blocking barrier up now. or window. Yeah, window. But anyway, so I'm leaning on the counter and there's like all these people everywhere. It even looks like, all these doctors everywhere and nurses. And I go, I need to get my ID. This lady had taken my ID to see if my paperwork's ready. And this lady goes, well, what's her name? And I go, well, I don't know. I don't even see her here. And she goes, well, I can't, I don't know what to tell you. And I was just like, oh, I'll just come back. And I'm heading out the doors. And as I'm heading out the doors, as I'm going by that hospital bed, which is now on my right side, all of a sudden the patient rises up and just turns and looks at me and just starts saying, it said something. It was loud. Um, it was loud, and I just went, ah. And I freaked out and ran to the double doors, right? And when she was yelling at me, I can see the expression on the other people's face. It was like they were concerned. It was a concern because they were looking at the patient, and I was trying to figure out at that time, and I think it was a female patient. So I was like, ah. So I run out of the building, out of this doctor's office, which I kind of figured out it was probably a doctor's office. But I don't understand why I'm getting a check or whatever that kind of thing is. Or maybe I was trying to get some type of documents. Again, I don't know. So I go running out the building, and there's like water everywhere. And the rain's coming down pretty hard, and the water's rising, and at that time I was like thinking, how is this water rising so fast? And all of a sudden I look out, and you know how tall grass, you might see them in meadows and stuff like that, where it has really tall green grass, and the water has, when the water goes over it, it kind of looks like a path, and it's getting kind of a darkish outside, right? But not totally dark. It's like still light, so it's kind of like an evening kind of thing. Just turning evening, and the rain is coming down, and this water's got this little path going this way. So all of a sudden now I'm walking in the grass in the middle of this path going down, and I'm just fascinated. And then I'm in the woods. So it's going like into the woods, and there's woods all around me, right? Then all of a sudden I just drop like in this pool. There was like a big open pool. And when I dropped under the water. I remember seeing the water, the bubbles and everything, and I'm fighting to get back up. And I get back up above, and I reach up and I'm grabbing this branch. It's like a tree. It's kind of like an older tree, but a fresh, I don't know, still live tree sticking out of the ground. So I pull myself up that way, and I kind of get up on land, but it's not dry. There's water. I mean, so it's like a smaller, so it's kind of like before I fell into that pond, I'm up on that kind of grassy area. So I'm starting to walk back. So, but when I'm walking back on that little grassy trail of water that's rushing through, right? I'm not going against the water now. The water has switched, and now it's going back. Now I'm going back the way I come from. And I noticed it right away. I'm like, as soon as I got on there, all of a sudden the water shifted, and now I'm going back the other way, and the water's going back the other way, the stream. And I was like, oh, this is wild. It's like I was going that way, and I turned to look back, and you can see the kind of like how the water's carved through the meadow kind of like thing with the grass, and it's rushing through. And here I was like thinking, I just went that way, and because that's the way the water was going until I fell underwater. And then I got back up and I started going back, and now the water's following me back this way. And that's when I woke up. I've never dreamt of water. I've never dreamt of, any time in my life of going underwater and actually seeing the bubbles. And then I'm analyzing it when I woke up, thinking about it. And my mom is in rehabilitation, right? And that place that they have her in, um, when I've been visiting, I've noticed there's lots of personnel. It's very busy, very active. There's another patient, and there's two patients, my mom and some other lady. And I realized that patient that jumped up out of that bed was my mother. And I think the five people that were around her were actually working on her or doing something uh, with her. Probably, but to me, it was like medical help helping her. But when she rose up out of bed, it was so wild because it was like she was laying down and she just comes straight up, and she turned and looked at me. And I was like, ah. And then when I went out, all of a sudden I'm in this flood. There's water rising up, there's water coming down, the sky's kind of like a dark color. And all of a sudden I'm taking this water trail until I fall into this underwater. And then I get back up out of the water, and the water changes direction. And that part, I think it's telling me there must have been some type of, I don't know, I really don't know now, but I think it has to do something about a path. Follow the river, follow the river down. Now that's interesting because I think when I was 50, yeah, it was when I was 15 years old, my stepfather took us hunting like at 6 o'clock in the morning. It was very early. It was just barely turning light. And he drove up into the mountains. And so he would use my brothers and I and he'd place us certain parts of the road, and he would take off and he would drive down to the road below, which, I didn't know anything about these woods. I'm still new trying to figure out, I only knew the main parts, the road, but he went off the road onto these gravel roads. He goes, there's a road down below, meet me down there. What I want you guys to do is walk through, and we had our 33 guns, because that's, hunting guns that we had. I got rid of that long ago. And so my older brother would be like, after about 5 minutes, because it was time in 5 minutes. And because whatever he was hoping, my stepfather was hoping that whatever come out, he would get, we was scared out. And so we're walking down, and I see one brother on this side, and I'm in the middle, and my other brother on this side. And so we're walking down through the forest, and I'm walking, 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 and all of a sudden, I'm not finding any road. I was looking over, I couldn't see either one of my brothers. I was hollering and screaming, and what's going on? And all of a sudden the sun is, I mean, it's, the time is like, seems like it went by so fast. The sun is above, it's really super hot. I'm sweating. I don't have water. I don't have anything to eat. I'm carrying around this gun. And so finally, I find a gravel road. So I'm looking, and there's nobody anywhere around. And so I'm following this gravel road. I walk up, and it goes to a dead end. I go this way, and I end up going to another dead end. So wherever I was going on these roads, I kept, and I'd turn on another road and go down. I'd end up in another dead end. It's like I was walking so much. Then it started getting dark, and I'm getting grouchy. I'm getting scared. I'm not knowing what I'm doing. I'm praying. I'm asking God for help. What am I going to do? And I remember sitting on the landing area, and I was, you know, yelling out to God. Because I had a, I don't think my stepfather liked me, um, because, and that's what I was sensing. I didn't want to go that morning. I didn't want to go hunting that morning. I remember telling my mom, no, I'm not, I don't want to go. I do not want to go. And she goes, you have to go. You know, you got to be a man. You got to be, you know, bring in, you know, learn how to bring in, you know, food and stuff like that. And it was all about be a man, be a man. Here I'm 15. I'm like, you know, we get her. I don't want deer meat. I don't like deer meat, you know, because they do it. They do hunting all the time. I said, I'd like hamburger. I'd like chicken. I said, and that's all we get anyway. And I said, the last 2 deers we've got have been just got freezer burned. And I said, so I said, you know, is it really worth it? You got to learn. So I'm forced into this and going. So I'm thinking about that as I'm on this little landing area. And the sun is already starting to go down, and I'm scared, and I'm hollering and screaming, hoping someone would listen or hear me. Um, and then I'm, you know, calling out to God. I'm just like, you know, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Then all of a sudden, it was really wild. This big tunnel of, like, it was a big, like a dust storm, a big, huge wind. I can see it. I can hear it first above me in the trees. I hear this shh. And all of a sudden I see all the treetops just going like crazy. And then all of a sudden it comes down around me, and there's all this dust everywhere. And I'm like, oh, thanks a lot. What is going on? You know, and it kind of lightened my mood a little bit, because I was like, what the heck? It kind of distracted me. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing in my mind, follow the water down. Follow the water down. And I'm, all of a sudden, it's like I can see in my mind my grandmother sitting on a chair, and she's telling us a story or whatever. And she's telling us kids, if you ever get lost, follow the water down. And so I'm, you know, sitting there off the edge of this, you know, clearing cliff kind of like thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, follow what water down? There's no, I haven't seen any water. If I had water, I drink it. I said, I'm so thirsty and blah, blah, blah. And I'm, all of a sudden now I'm complaining about, you know, there's no water. Where am I supposed to follow this water down? I'm literally out in the woods just talking to myself. And I didn't want to, I didn't want to hurt anything. I didn't want to fire the gun. I'm just like praying to that time, like, please don't let no bear or no cougar or wild animal, don't, you know, don't make me, I don't want to do any, I don't want to fire this gun. I don't want to do this. I don't want to harm anything. Then all of a sudden, I was just still, and I was like thinking, where's the water? Where am I going to find the water? And I looked down just off the cliff there, and there's water coming out of the mountain going down. And I seen that. I was like, no way. How's that water been there the whole time? So I had to find a way I had to take a leap. I kind of like, because the cliff goes like this, but then there's a drop before it kind of goes down. And I had to literally jump to try to, but I did. I stabilized myself. I jumped, I got down there, and I got right by the water. And it's so interesting. It's just a water hole coming out of the side of the cliff there. And so I was just like, thinking, oh, please let this be good water without anything. It's going to make me sick, and I'm drinking it. And I'm like, I started feeling better. So I'm like, follow the water. So I'm following this little stream, and it went into another bigger stream. And then all of a sudden it goes into a river. I knew that river is close to my grandmother's house. I was just like, and I'm running through the water because there's some places I couldn't run alongside the edge because it's overcrowded with brush. And I'm running through the water, and I'm getting through there. And finally, I get to a road that's a half a mile from my grandmother's house. I'm like, so I'm on the pavement and I'm walking, and it's like about close to 6:00 at night. The sun was just going down just right off the horizon. Actually, by the time I got to, because I cut along my grandparents' back field, and I walked to their back door. I heard in the living room my stepfather, my mother, my grandfather, and my grandma, and just laughing and joking and having fun like they're having a big party. So I put my gun into the corner over by the kitchen as I was walking in the back door. And I go over and I get myself some water, and I'm chugging it down. Well, where the kitchen sink is, where I got water, I'm looking, and they're playing cards, pinochle, and they're drinking beer, smoking cigarettes, and having a blast. And I'm drinking my water, and I'm looking at them, and they don't even recognize me. They don't even notice that I'm there. And so there's like this little archway in my grandmother's house. She has one of those archways. And so I'm leaning up against this archway, drinking my water, and they're probably like 1.5 feet in front of me playing their games, talking to each other. In the corner of the living room is my two brothers playing card game, and the TV's blaring. So I'm just standing there, and then finally my mom looks up at me and she goes, well, it's about time you showed up. I go, what do you mean it's about time I showed up? You left me up there. You guys left me on that hill. Did you guys call for help? Did you call the Forest Service? Did you tell anybody? No, your grandfather's worked up there his whole life. He knows those hills from the back of his hand. I go, what's that got to do with me? I didn't work up there. He did. That's his knowledge, not mine. And it goes, so none of you even thought about me? No. Oh my goodness. I just felt it from my heart. It just felt like my heart just crushed. So I walk out the front door, my grandmother's front door. I sat on the front steps, and I just started crying, and I'm talking to God. I'm like, they don't care. They literally, I was right the whole time I was up there thinking they didn't care. They really did not care. And so I ran home, which we lived about a mile and a half, 2 miles away. And I just ran. I all of a sudden I had this energy and I'm just running. I remember I haven't eaten anything. It's just the water. And I run home. Um, the house is locked, because I got the key, but I always leave my back window open because I lived in the back part of the house. I left the window or so I can slide it open. So I get up and I get in the window, close it, and I just sat on my bed, so exhausted, crying. I jumped in bed, covered my head, and next thing you know, it's the next day, 3:30. The next day is Sunday. Um, I think it was Saturday when I can't remember. Anyway, the next day is like 3:30, and my mom comes in the bedroom and she's shaking me, and she's like, "Are you gonna get up and do anything today, or are you just gonna sleep all day?" And I was still shocked. I was like, "You left me up there, and you don't care?" And she goes, "You would have been fine." And she goes, "Get up and do some work around here." I go, "What time is it?" And she goes, "It's 3:30." I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I was just tired. I had to walk a long ways. You'll be fine." And ever since then,